the phone and called the police. Well, I had a writer-producer visiting me at that time, and he had done one of those wonderful cop shows back in the 70s and 80s, and the police came and blah, 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 and I opened this sack of fan mail, a bundle of fan mail, and there were 3 or 4 or 5 these letters in there, and the studio didn't know they were there because they hadn't opened them. And when the police came, they were so excited to meet this man who had written and produced this wonderful cop show that they sort of said, oh, yes, they're there. It'll be all right in the future. Now, listen, about this show.
Oh, my gosh.
And
they got all swept under the carpet. That's not fair.
I know.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, you really do have to be careful with that and take it so seriously. It's not so much, I guess, maybe back then, but maybe they didn't advertise it or publicize it as much.
Well, really back then, because, the NBC was right there on the street and anybody could... Well, what I got out of that was a chauffeur and a bodyguard. I mean, he was a chauffeur who was a bodyguard.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's got to be scary. I just can't even imagine. I don't understand how people take that so seriously, like thinking that you're actually that character. Hello, you turn your TV on, you turn your TV off. That person has gone home for the day. They're living their normal, regular life.
Some people can't differentiate between fantasy and reality, though. That's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, well, some of them may need some medication, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of soaps, when you did your first soap, what did you learn from it that you've taken with you throughout your career?
Oh, I was so fortunate. Frances Reed and MacDonald Carey were on this show, and I was this very green person who had done mostly theater, and to have them as my role models and mentors was the most wonderful education I could have possibly gotten in television, because I learned many, many things from them. Number 1, hit your mark. Number 2, look up into the light to read the lines so that you don't get that overhead light on the brow on your eyebrow, and so that shadows your face.
Yeah.
I was known as the lady who could read the phone book looking up into the light. But mainly it was like basic courtesy of professional people. Be on time, know your lines, be kind and soft-spoken in the studio, do not pull hissy fits because they will come back to haunt you, and a whole bunch of things that are just basic good manners and very nice, just basic to be even, and don't take anything so seriously. After all, this is not, the UN is not going to meet on this.
Yeah.
You're going to go home, you're going to wash your dishes and cook your dinner and have a nice time, hopefully with your husband. And, it's just the basic thing. Life goes on. Life is good and goes on.
Do you find yourself passing that on to the younger actors now that you meet up with?
The ones that I think will hear and will listen. The other day, at the General Hospital reunion, which was so wonderful. We'll talk about that later. But I was standing next to a girl who was on General Hospital, and now she's on, I think it's Pretty Little Maids or some other show. But we were talking, and I said, "Oh, honey," I said, "you're so beautiful." I said, "Don't ever let anybody cut your face. Like give you a nip and a tuck." And she said, "I have in mind not to let that happen." And I said, "That's it's so lovely." And our country is so anti-gracefully aging that we don't get a chance to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but that was great. But some actresses, some actors, are so full of themselves that it's wonderful to see. So I'm old enough now to know, fine with me, check with me in 5 years.
Right.
Because
when you're sitting there waitressing and looking for another job.
or whatever. But I'm old enough now to know that life has ebbs and flows, And sometimes the most wonderful lessons are learned in those times, really wonderful lessons. And I'm never so far from the farm that I can't grow my own vegetables.
Yeah, you're very down to earth. You can tell that.
Oh, yeah I am, yeah. And what does not kill you will make you stronger.
Right.
I follow that one, too.
Now, David, I think you had a question about days.
Yes, I did. Marie?
Yes.
Last night, I was going through YouTube, and I found the very first episode of Days of Our Lives. Oh, my God. And this is before I knew that there were soap operas. So I'm thinking, what did it feel like to you to actually open a soap?
Well, I had no idea. I didn't know what that was. It was just, oh, my God, I have a job.
Yeah.
I was just so thrilled to have a job. I had no idea. Like when you're doing it, and let me tell you that when we did that show, we were the stepchildren of the industry. It wasn't the, oh, isn't she wonderful? She's on a soap. It was, oh, she's on a soap.
Oh.
Yeah. Even though we made money and we paid to carry the news at that time. Now the news is, hot stuff, but not when we began that. We carried the news, and even though we did that, we were just of the stepchildren of the industry. There wasn't any big hoo-hoo about us. We were just soap opera.
You're right.
It wasn't a great big deal then. I was just lucky to get a job, I thought. And I was so grateful to have it. Because I had come from Texas. I'd done mostly theater work. I had done one, I think, Ben Casey. That was my Taft-Hartley, they said. When you weren't in the union and you got to do one show that you weren't in the union, but then you had to join the union. So that was the show I was on, and that was all. And they took a chance on me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say we thank them too.
Them too.
Thanks. Oh, and you know something? When I went to audition for this wonderful role on Heart of Dixie, who should be in the room but Michael Leonard was there, and Sally Kirkland had come to read for this role, and the fabulous Carol Cook. Now,
wow.
That is good company to be in. And I thought, I looked around and I thought, ooh, they're going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing, and they're going to kick me out of here. That's how I felt. I felt like, oh, the big girls are here. I hope they don't find out who I am.
No, that's not even true.
Well, but nevertheless, you have insecure feelings just like everybody else.
Right, exactly.
It's funny.
Wow. Well, I hope you get it. I mean, I'd love to see more of you, but I don't know how you have time to do everything.
Well, we're on hiatus now.
Oh, are you? Okay.
We have a little time off. Now, Ariana has gone out to promote her album, and she's taken, she said, 4 buses on this bus and truck tour, and she's opening for Justin Bieber all across the country. Yeah, until she comes back. So she's all about her music now. I mean, she has a new album come out that she's written the songs for. It's wonderful. She's got a couple of songs that have made the top, both of them made the top 10. So she's in high cotton right now.
Well, maybe I should get her on my music show.
Oh, I definitely think you should. Yeah. She's hot stuff. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll have to listen to some of her music. I'm sure it's great. I mean, if she's opening for Justin Bieber, hello.
Yeah, it's on iTunes.
Oh, it is on iTunes?
I'm one of those people that don't have iTunes. Isn't that terrible?
Oh. How do you buy your music?
From Amazon. It's usually if it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon. I just had a bad experience with iTunes on my computer one time and never downloaded it again. So initially, a lot of the music will come out on iTunes, and then eventually, maybe a couple weeks later, end up on Amazon, and then I just download it that way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's easier for me. I'm not afraid to do it then.
Oh, okay.
David, did you have another question?
Yeah, I do. I want to know, what are your fondest memories of Frances Reed and MacDonald Carey?
Oh, well, as I said, they were my wonderful mentors and my teachers. And not only that, Franny became my mom. I was a long way away from any kind of family I had out here, and Franny didn't have any daughters, and so we kind of took to each other. And she became sort of my surrogate. She was certainly my show business mom, and it was just really, nice, a wonderful feeling. And MacDonald Carey wore the nicest cashmere sweaters, and we had these early calls, and you could go up and give him a hug and just bury your nose in that wonderful soft feel. And then later on, when I left the show and went to New York and I was on Search for Tomorrow, he used to call me up and read the poetry that he had written. And he was a wonderful poet.
He was, I remember.
And he'd call me up and read to me. Sometimes he'd forget the time change.
Oh, no.
So that made it difficult, but I was just so glad to hear from him. I didn't care.
David, did you ever read any of his poetry?
I remember watching Days a lot, and I remember he used to recite on the show, I think around Christmas time, on some of the Christmas episodes, and I think he did one for Frances, I think a special one for Frances.
Well, yeah, but he was a wonderful poet. He was just terrific. And, you've asked me, one of these questions was about what was the difference in working for a half-hour drama compared to an hour drama.
Yes.
And the big difference is if it's taped or filmed. And now, because of the change in the cameras, all the cameras have gone to these high-definition cameras. And it depends on if they're using one camera or four or two or three, because it can, if you're doing one camera setup, like a film, you have to take everything from one point of view, and then you have to turn it around to look over the shoulder of the person they have just shot. So does that make sense? So they can see
they have to
the
move
other
the camera around. Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what medium you're working in, so that you can know. It takes a long time to do a one-camera show because there's all that set up and move the camera and take the shot from another angle. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 cameras, then you can just put them around, and then you shoot it, and it isn't so bad. Then they edit it all together. But it's how to keep your sanity on the set. There's that to learn too.
Yeah, with more than one camera. I mean, I guess over the years you learn how to work with that. But I'm just picturing in my head, what camera am I supposed to be looking at now?
The one with the light.
Yeah.
The one with the light.
The one with the light. That's always
the one with the light. And you look up and you find the person. And I always, when I start a show, I always go over and say, "Hello, my name is Maree Cheatham. It's so wonderful to meet you." Because I don't know these camera people sometimes. So they stay on the show a long time. So it's important to go over and meet them, and and so that you can know their names, and so you can hear so-and-so, go over here and do this, and you can sort of listen, and what's being said, so that what you can compensate, make the director's life a little easier.
Right, exactly, and I'm sure the directors appreciate that.
Yes, Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and that's why you keep going back. You keep getting called back because they all love you. See, I told you.
But boy, that's really quite something to learn, and that in the lighting, you have to get into a position so that you're not blocking another actor's shot, a camera shot of another actor, or their line.